Hey everybody, Greg Kaplan here with Kaplan Boating. I'm here with Joe Keller of the Fox Waterway Agency. Today we're going to introduce the Chain of Lakes boating community to not only Joe but also to the agency. As we know, there's a lot of governments that are involved with managing the Chain of Lakes, Fox River Waterway. And so Joe, thanks for having me this morning.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Great to be here. Can you tell us a little bit about what the role and mission of the waterway is?
Absolutely, Greg. As you and some of our friends watching, the Fox Waterway, along with the Chain of Lakes and Fox River, is comprised of about 7,100 acres of waterway. It's a very well-known place, as your website points out. It's the busiest per boat per acre waterway during the summer months in the United States of America. We're really proud of that. We have a lot of boaters that come here and find sanctuary to enjoy the system. Our agency was created in the 1980s to basically improve the waterway, preserve the waterway, and make it safe for navigation, and we're happy to do that.
So for a typical boater, fees are around $100 for the sticker?
Correct. Your typical boat sticker, B sticker, is $100. That's basically the primary sticker we sell. When I got here back in 2015, that amounted to about $1.5 million to care for 7,100 acres. So that's quite a substantial waterway in a smaller amount, I should say, to care for the vast waterway that we have. So we try to do what we can with the funds that we get.
Okay. Talked about safety, and there are definitely some safety issues. We know it's shallow and there's some dangerous areas. It seems like inevitably there's always somebody that's driving too close to Half Moon Islands.
Sure.
It's well marked. Is there what do you guys think about that? Is there a way to maybe market better? Or?
Well, a couple things. Just to give you a little background, we partner up with the IDNR with putting buoys out in the system. They primarily handle the river. They handle the mouth as it goes into the Fox River from Pistaki, which is right behind us. And then also they do the markers around Half Moon Island. They have about 8 to 10 of them out there. Yeah. We've recently put a sign up marking reef. We're going to be putting another sign out in the coming weeks. We're waiting on some lights, but we're trying to do a little bit more there because folks continue to have a problem.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. It's unfortunate that there was an old house there, and you have an interesting book there about the history of the Chain of Lakes in the lobby. If anybody's here, check it out. So there was an old house, and it looks like, because I went there up close last year, so it's not the soft bottom that most people think.
Correct. There's quite a bit of stone right around that island. So,
right.
And in fact, you can't take any area for granted on the system, especially when you're getting close to islands or remnants of islands. So folks should always maintain caution when they're using the waterway.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one more area, and again, the purpose here today is really just to get to know the waterway agency, not get too deep in the weeds. But another, I think, heavily trafficked area is when you're coming out of or coming underneath the Route 12 bridge, headed into Pistaki from Nippersink, and there's the marked channel, but that channel's pretty shallow, and a lot of people take that cut right across inside that first buoy. And so that creates a little bit of a traffic issue that looks like you're cutting in front of oncoming boat traffic. Are there plans to dredge the channel, or?
It's a very shallow channel. We call that Governor's Channel. It's actually the main vein, I'll say, between the major lakes and heading into Fox River as you approach Algonquin, McHenry, etc. But the bottom line is we need to do more dredging there. We do have in the works a plan to take that material out and actually rebuild and reconstruct an area of island that used to be there next to Trinsky's Island. There's a small island there that has rapidly eroded away over the years. Our agency wants to help build it up a little bit, preserve it for future generations and for our boaters, for the folks that like to fish around it, and also at the same time dredge and clean that channel. There's a lot of sand that comes in from Nippersink, and then flows into Governors, and then ultimately it's pushed through the system with up and downs of the water, storms, sometimes flooding, etc. So it's an area we're focused on, and we want to at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, second half of the year, start dredging there again. Okay, so in the meantime, before we do the master solution, which is the taking of all of the sediment, particularly around the mouth of Nippersink, going deeper into Nippersink, and then all of the sediment around Governors, we want to take that and rebuild what once was. But we also would like to do some intermittent dredging there after our current project.
So that's going to be starting this year?
That'll be starting this year. Hopefully folks will see us out there later in the summer.
Okay, so in the interim here for the next couple of months, we're still going to see, is there any markings that you can do?
We're talking about it right now. We might do some additional markings, but there's a lot of folks that once they get out of that no wake zone, they do make a cut and they're allowed to do that. So folks should maintain caution over there for sure.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that. So the chain is one of the busiest inland waterways, and the technical definition is per boat acre in the United States.
Yes.
How does that impact how you manage it in terms of all the traffic, especially on the weekends?
Well, it's very carefully, I'll say. Thankfully, we have partners in the regulatory field. We have McHenry Sheriff's Police, we have Lake County Sheriff's Police, we have the IDNR Conservation Police. And I got to give kudos to them. They do a great job with as limited resources as they have. And folks on the waterway, they do cover a lot of ground. When you're talking 7,100 acres, that needs to it needs to be a full team effort. So during the holiday seasons, as your site has pointed out, we have upwards of over 100,000 people on this waterway enjoying it. It's been great for families, and all folks from the area and from out of the area have flocked to this area during the summer months. But how do you manage it? You know, our guys do a great job of taking care of debris concerns that pop up after a storm. There's a lot of folks that'll go to our app. We have an app you can download at foxwateragency.com, and they'll put in, you could specifically identify where there's a debris concern. Maybe our guys are out there constantly trying to get rid of debris concerns in the midst and around the projects that we're doing as far as dredge projects go.
That's great. Yeah, please download the app. It has also, if there's any closings or any flooding or anything like that, it's in the app as well. We're sitting here on a barge, so there's a barge here that I presume is what you would use to remove the debris. Also in the parking lot, there's five dump trucks. A lot of
equipment for a 7,100 acre piece of waterway. So the other thing we need is locations to bring the material to. So we have strategic locations throughout the system. We have one area right around the chain of lakes here, not too far in Lake Villa. It's a 15-acre piece of property, 30 acres total, but 15 that we can use where we bring sediments to. And thankfully, we were able to acquire that property a couple years ago. And why is that property important? In the past, we had no place to bring our material to bring our sediments to, and we would literally have to find parks, we would have to find farmland, we would have to find community gardens, and we still do those things to bring the material to, but in many cases, you're traveling a lot of miles. And when you talk about those big semis you see sitting in our driveway, and today's price of diesel and gas, that can get very expensive. So the beautiful thing about this piece of property we've acquired, it's located within a couple miles of the major lakes. We dredge two ways, mechanically, hydraulically. The hydraulically dredge method is the most efficient, and it's frankly requires the less man or woman power, and it's very cost effective. Okay. We basically pump. It's like someone that would have a vacuum cleaner in their pool. You know, it just kind of manually sucks up everything and makes the pool clean. Well, this hydraulic dredge, we could operate it with a 2-man or woman crew. It basically sucks material out of the system. We pump it into a place called Cooper's Farms. These are big cells right off the waterway. And then in the off season, in the winter months, we take that material out. We bring it to, and you can see our crew right there coming in after handling some buoys and debris work. Thanks, guys. That's a good little image there. But anyway, so basically we'll take the material, anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000 cubic yards of material. We'll bring it to Wall Street, which is our processing facility in Lake Villa. Let the material dry, and then we resell it, which helps sustain our operations. And we use those funds to do the same thing again. So it's a truly sustaining effort, okay? And who buys that material? People that want really good gardens, people that want excellent tomato crops, corn, etc. This material is very rich, good substance to help grow grow farms. Okay.
So for anybody that wants to buy it, where do they go get it?
I would say first call the agency, reach out to us, and we can arrange for help them find delivery, or they can have their landscaper come pick some up. But we sell it at a discounted rate, and it's excellent material.
Fantastic. In terms of, I see a lot of notes from boaters that are picking up debris. Sometimes it's just a branch or piece of wood, but some folks do get heavier stuff. Is there a drop off for that type of stuff as well?
The answer is yes. I would have them first call the agency, tell them what they have. Number one, be careful, because they always want to be careful, especially if something's large. Sometimes you might not know how big it really is, and it could be dangerous, so it's probably safe to call us. But if they do in fact find something and take it upon themselves to get something, they could bring it here to the agency in Fox Lake. We have another spot in Grass Lake where they could drop stuff off. There are some locations along the river as well that they can bring material to.
Great. Outside of that, how can boaters, they're out there all the time, they're fishing and tubing, and we're just anchoring up at a sandbar. How can they help Fox Waterway, help them make the chain and waterway a better place to boat?
Okay. Well, first off, I would just encourage them to continue to enjoy themselves on the waterway and talk about the beautiful refuge of the waterway. That in itself does a lot. I think in the last couple of years, one of the things that we've learned to appreciate more, and a lot of our users have learned to appreciate, is the precious value of the gems in our own backyard. And this is truly a life-sustaining, in every sense of the word, a life-sustaining waterway for the community that relies on it from the standpoint of jobs, businesses, economy, but also for the folks that work to find peace. This is a great waterway to find that peace, to appreciate God's creation, and enjoy it with their family and friends.
It's definitely a nice little treasure tucked away that maybe too many people know
Absolutely.
about.
Absolutely.
Busiest waterway. So
sure.
Yeah. Last topic, there's a watershed grant. I think that's more for businesses. Can you just briefly explain how that might benefit economic development here? And maybe that could benefit.
One slight correction, it's actually not for business, just for businesses. It's for homeowners associations.
Okay.
It's for neighborhoods. It's for communities. It could be for a user on the waterway or a homeowner on the waterway that has a channel or a particular area in their waterfront that they want improved. So basically, for many years, one thing that hasn't been done is there's these things called, I don't want to get too technical here, these things called HUCs, okay? Hydraulic Unit Code. Basically, it symbolizes an area of waterway that has a plan or doesn't have a plan. The Illinois EPA, okay, Environmental Protection Agency, will sponsor different work to be done in a particular area or region of the state of Illinois for improving that particular area. In this case, we're talking a watershed. So what they have done is they put basically millions of dollars into a fund, and for areas along any waterway in the state of Illinois that have a watershed plan, you can tap into that reserve of funding to help improve the waterway. In what way? Water quality, after a storm, things that come into the waterway, a shoreline not being adequately protected.
Right.
You see here in the background we have this nice riprap. This is a well-protected shoreline. There's a lot of shorelines along the system that are not well protected and need additional coverage. Okay, there are big areas that might have a parking lot right up into the waterway. There should be some sort of buffer zone there to allow some things that might come off of a parking lot, debris, elements from tires, oil, gas, etc. There should be some sort of mechanism to purify and clean that water before it makes it to the system. So what this watershed grant, we're excited about it. We have our first meeting on July 6th. It's a Wednesday here at the agency. Folks are able to come and participate in either two meetings. Check our website for information. But ultimately, what we're hopeful of doing the next year and a half is to create this watershed plan and then ultimately have a blueprint for success. What does that mean? Businesses, homeowners, communities that identify projects that need to be done in their own little niche of the waterway can through and with our agency present them for funding, and we can work to get funding for a lot of projects throughout the waterway simultaneously. So if we submit a dozen projects, maybe 3 of them get selected, but that's 3 more projects with 3 new vehicles of funding that we'd never had before. Right. So we're really excited about that.
That's great, and thanks for the distinction that it's not only businesses, homeowners associations. That's important. Before we wrap up, Joe, Any last minute thoughts for boaters, whether it's on safety, the agency, or the waterway, that you'd like them to know?
Absolutely. First off, I want to thank the boaters and users of this waterway. It's, as you know, you appreciate the value of it, and we certainly want to keep it preserved and preserve it more for future generations. One thing I'd emphasize is this: some of the situations that happened in the last year where folks maybe lost their lives was simply an issue of folks not wearing life vests. So we encourage folks to make sure that before they get on the waterway, they have enough life vests for themselves and for anybody that comes onto their boat, and practicing simple safety practices that they should do for themselves and their families and their guests that they bring on the waterway. We have a link on our website that talks about some of those things. I encourage folks to go look at it. But number one, enjoy the waterway, have fun, be safe, be smart, and thank you very much for your participation here and for all the work you do on behalf of the waterway. I appreciate it, Greg.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much.